There are hollers in Kentucky where the dark doesn't just fall, it waits. Where the dogs quit barking all at once and the wind seems to hold its breath. And out past Waddy, down a narrow road lined with black trees and barbed wire, folks still whisper about the winter. Something learned to walk upright. It came for goats, then calves, but it didn't eat. It tore, it tested, it watched. Some called it a wild dog, others a curse that crawled out of the woods when the moon was high. But around those parts, they gave it a name that still makes the horses shy at night: the Waddy Werewolf. You're listening to Kentucky Melody, where we wander the back roads and hollers of our home, searching for the truth buried in our legends, from ghost stories whispered on front porches to creatures that still prowl the ridges after dark. These are the tales that make Kentucky more than a place. They make it a mystery. That winter, the dark came early in Waddy. By 4:30, the sun was gone and the ridgelines looked like bones against a gray sky. The fields turned to pools of shadow, and the air hung heavy, quiet, and cold. Folks shut their gates, clicked on their porch lights, and listened, because something out there had learned the back roads and the barnyards, and whatever it was, it moved like a secret. It started with the goats. A woman out on Ditto Road stepped into the cold one morning and found a sight no farmer should ever have to see. Her goats were torn apart, not eaten, just destroyed. Their ears were gone, their tongues ripped out, their lips and faces mangled like something mean had taken its time. Blood shined black in the frost, and the smell of iron hung in the air. The dogs wouldn't go near the barn, and the horses stood with wide eyes all through the night. By the next morning, the talk had a name. Somebody said it half joking, but it stuck: the Waddy Werewolf. And once folks said it out loud, you could feel the fear settle in like smoke in an old house. First goats, then calves. Each kill was the same: heads mauled, bodies untouched, fences still standing, gates still latched. No prints that made sense. Just a mess left behind that didn't belong to any wild thing from these hills. People started carrying flashlights and sidearms when they went out after dark. Screen doors would creak open down the holler whenever something moved in the pampas grass. Men who'd hunted these woods their whole lives said it felt different, like something was out there watching them watch the woods. Then came the tracks. After a long rain, somebody found prints down by the creek. Big ones, wider than a man's hand, with claw marks pressed deep into the mud like chisel cuts. Too big for a coyote, too wide for any dog they'd seen. And the strangest part, no broken fences, no dug-out dirt. Just perfect prints inside and outside the pen, like something had stepped clean over the fence without ever touching it. Then came the sound. A mother and daughter were walking home down a gravel road when the air suddenly changed, went heavy and still, like the night was holding its breath. Then it called out. Not a howl, not a scream, something in between. A sound so wrong it didn't fit in this world. They ran for the barn, slammed the door, and held it shut while that cry echoed across the fields. Down the road, a man standing on his porch heard it too. He said it sounded like something calling his name, but twisted, like it was learning how to talk. After that, Waddy learned to measure the nights by the noises they heard and the animals that vanished. One cry at a time, one smear of blood, one flashlight that caught eyes shining red in the tree line. Then came the first sightings. A man driving home from work said he saw something walking upright through the mist along the fence line. Tall, thin, covered in dark hair. He said it moved like a man but looked like a nightmare. Another swore he saw it running on all fours, jerky and wrong, until it stopped, stood up straight, and turned his head toward him. That was enough for him. He sold his land and moved before Christmas. When the fear got too thick to ignore, the county called a meeting down at the church basement. The whole town came. Game wardens, animal control, even the sheriff. They told folks not to panic, said it was just dogs, mean ones, running wild. But nobody in that room believed it. Not after seeing what those animals looked like. Not after hearing that sound. Someone brought a little bag with dried spit from a calf's wound, and they sent it off to be tested. While they waited, men sat up in their trucks all night with rifles across their laps, headlights pointed toward the tree line. Then, in the middle of a bright afternoon, it happened again. Two sisters heard a fight break out in their yard, growling, dust flying. When they ran outside, they found a huge pit bull tearing into their mama's little dog. They beat it off with sticks and called the county. Turned out the dog had been attacking horses too. They caught it, caged it, and for a week, Waddy slept in peace. When the lab results came back, they said dog, plain and simple. Not wolf, not coyote, just a regular old dog. Folks tried to believe it. The T-shirts that said, "Hide your livestock." Waddy Werewolf went back in drawers and people stopped leaving their porch lights on. But come spring, a farmer woke to find one of his calves dead. Same way, same wounds. And that pit bull, the one they'd blamed, was home. Chained up, not a drop of blood on it. That's when the whispers started again. Maybe they caught the wrong thing. Maybe there was more than one. Or maybe the real killer had just been waiting for the ground to thaw and the knots to grow long again. Time rolled on. The fields turned green. The moon rose fat and pale, and the name Waddy Werewolf faded like an old rumor. But years later, up near Shelbyville, a woman walking her beagle one quiet night saw two big shapes moving down a driveway. Too low for men, too big for dogs. They hid behind a bush that couldn't hide them. Then they rose, tall, hairy, their arms hanging long and wrong at their sides. They looked toward her house, shook like wet beasts coming out of a creek, and ran off, upright, fast, and silent. She told the sheriff she didn't know what she'd seen, but she knew it weren't anything this world had a name for. And back in Waddy, the fields still remember that winter, when the dark came early, when folks locked their gates and kept their kids close, and when something out there learned to walk like a man, but kill like a monster. But legends do more than live. They walk. Drive I-64 when the sky is thin and silver over the Bluegrass. Roll past Waddy when the fog is down, and look out across the low pastures where the fences cut the land into dark squares. Somewhere a mare will test the air and stamp once. Somewhere a dog will lift its head and refuse the yard. And if your eyes slip out to the tree line at just the wrong moment, you may think you see what the old shirts promised. Something black and taller than it ought to be, stepping soft between the trunks, comfortable in both ways of going. Maybe it was only a bad dog with a taste for meanness. Maybe the lab and the chain link, and a pair of brave sisters ended it 10 winters ago. But on certain nights, when the wind dies and even the cicadas hold their tongues, Waddy remembers. The pastures do too, and the story passes hand to hand, like a lantern on a road with no moon. Once, a thing we did not know by name learned our fences, and we learned the sound of it in our bones. You can call it what you want. Around here, when folks speak low and look to the hedge, they still call it the Waddy Werewolf, and they lock their gates and they listen. Now tell me, friends, what do you think prowled the fields of Waddy that winter? Was it just a pack of mean dogs gone feral? Or was it something older, something that remembers how to stand like a man? Drop your thoughts down in the comments, and if you've ever seen something in the Kentucky night that you can't explain, share your story. We just might tell it right here on Kentucky Melody. If you enjoyed this story and want to keep the fire burning, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss a new tale from the Bluegrass shadows. And to all our backwoods believers and loyal members out there, your support keeps these stories alive. Because of you, we can wander the hollers, dig up old legends, and bring Kentucky's forgotten mysteries back to life. But for those who want to walk a little deeper into the dark with us, consider joining the Haunted Holler. It's our higher tier for true believers, with even more perks, ad-free stories, and a chance to help shape the future of Kentucky Melody. Click join below and become part of the family that keeps the lanterns lit and the stories whispering through the hills. Until next time, keep your lights low, your gates latched, and your ears open, 'cause the woods may be watching.